Welcome back to Northern Tales, where silence is broken and every woman's story finds its way back to her own voice. Tonight we continue our story, What We Trade in Silence. Zuwaira had come too far to turn back now. From the quiet streets of Dambata in Kano, where life was simple and dignity was taught like prayer, to the overwhelming world of the University of Abuja, where survival had become something she had to learn, not inherit. She had known hunger, she had known shame, she had known what it meant to shrink herself just to exist. And just when she thought she understood this new world, Khadija had opened a door she could not close. 500,000 naira. The number had not left her mind. The room was quiet. Zuwaira sat still, her eyes fixed on her Khadija. "You said I have it too?" she said softly. "What does that mean?" Khadija did not answer immediately. Instead, she leaned back against the wall, and for the first time, her voice lost its confidence. "I didn't start like this," she said quietly. Zuwaira said nothing. "I came here like you," Khadija continued. "No money, no connections, just hope." She let out a dry laugh. "Hope doesn't feed you." Khadija's eyes drifted as though she were looking at a version of herself Zuwaira had not seen. "There were days I didn't eat," she said. "Not even bread and water. Nothing." Zuwaira's chest tightened. "I would go to lectures and sit there, pretending to listen," Khadija went on. "But my head would be spinning, my stomach burning." She paused. "One day I almost fainted." Zuwaira leaned forward slightly. "What happened?" she asked. Khadija smiled faintly. "That's when she found me." "She?" Zuwaira asked. Khadija nodded. "A girl. Final year then, calm, well put together. You would never think she had ever struggled. She helped me up, bought me food, sat with me until I could stand properly." Khadija's voice softened, and then she asked me one question. "Do you want to keep suffering like this?" Zuwaira felt a chill. "What did you say?" she asked. Khadija looked at her. "I said no." There was silence. "She introduced me to it," Khadija said. "To the clinics." Zuwaira frowned slightly. "Clinics?" she repeated. Khadija nodded slowly. "Yes." She paused, then said it plainly. "Zuwaira, what we do is we donate our eggs." The words hung in the air. Zuwaira blinked. Her mind struggled to catch up. "Your eggs?" she asked. "What eggs?" Khadija nodded. "They use them for fertility treatments," she explained, "for women who cannot conceive with their own eggs." Zuwaira's heart was racing now. "And they pay you that much?" she asked. Khadija let out a small breath. "Some clinics pay up to 500,000, she said. "Sometimes more if your eggs are of very good quality." Zuwaira sat back slowly. Everything she thought she understood shifted. "At first," Khadija continued, "we were told not to come more than twice a year." She smiled slightly. "But when you're hungry, rules don't really apply." Zuwaira looked at her carefully. "What do you mean?" Khadija met her eyes. "We found other clinics," she said simply. "Different places, different doctors." Zuwaira's stomach turned. "How often?" she asked. Khadija hesitated. "At some point, I was going there monthly," she admitted. Silence fell again. "But not anymore," Khadija added quickly. "We have learned. We manage better now. We don't go as often." Zuwaira swallowed. "How does it even work?" she asked. Khadija shifted slightly. "They give you injections," she said, "to stimulate your ovaries to produce more eggs." Zuwaira's eyes widened. "Injections?" Khadija nodded. "They teach you how to give them yourself," she said. "That's why we bought the fridge, to store the medication." Everything suddenly made sense. The fridge, the secrecy, the money. "And the eggs?" Zuwaira asked carefully. "How do they take them out?" Khadija's voice lowered. It's a procedure, she said. They sedate you. She paused. They go in and retrieve them. Zuwaira's breath caught. You mean surgery? No, of course not surgery. It is done from under. And that's why she said, she hesitated. You said you're still virgins. Khadija nodded. Yes. Zuwaira sat in silence for a moment. Then more questions came faster now. What happens to the eggs? Is it safe? How do you feel after? Khadija answered calmly. They are used for IVF, she said, to help other women have children. After the procedure, you rest. Sometimes there is pain, sometimes weakness. She shrugged slightly, but it passes. Zuwaira looked at her, really looked at her, not just as the girl who had helped her, but as someone who had made a choice between hunger and something else. And that girl, Zuwaira asked quietly, the one who introduced you. Khadija smiled. She graduated, she said. She saved enough. A pause. She's in Canada now. The room fell silent. Zuwaira's heart was heavy because for the first time, this was no longer just a story. It was a possibility. And somewhere between survival and sacrifice, she did not yet know where she stood. Zuwaira did not speak immediately. The room felt smaller somehow, as though the air itself had thickened with something she had just heard. But the question would not stop. Are there complications? She asked quietly. Khadija hesitated. For most people, no, she said carefully. It goes smoothly. She paused. But there's something they call, is it hyperstimulation or something? Zuwaira frowned. What does that mean? It's only when the body reacts too much to the injections, Khadija explained. Too many eggs, too much fluid. It can make you very sick. Zuwaira's heart skipped. Has it happened to anyone you know? Khadija nodded slowly. Yes, once. Silence stretched between them. She was very ill, Khadija continued. They admitted her, treated her properly. She added almost quickly. She survived. The clinic took care of everything. She paused, then looked at Zuwaira. They even gave her 2 million naira afterwards. The number landed heavily, but so did the word ill. Before Zuwaira could ask another question, the door swung open. Faiza walked in. Her eyes moved quickly between them. What are you two whispering about? She asked. Khadija sat up straighter. Nothing, she said lightly. Faiza studied them for a moment, then shrugged and reached for the fridge. The conversation ended there, but for Zuwaira it had only just begun. For the next few days, her mind refused to rest. In lectures, she heard nothing. At night, she stared at the ceiling, replaying every word. 500,000 naira. She tried to imagine it. She couldn't. Her parents had never held that kind of money at once. She remembered clearly the year her father received 300,000 naira salary arrears. The entire neighborhood had known. People had come to greet him, to congratulate him. It had felt like a miracle. And now 500,000 naira for one procedure. She began to search. Late at night, under her blanket, her phone lighting her face, she read everything she could find. Medical articles, forums, stories. One thing stayed with her. A woman is born with millions of eggs. Zuwaira sat back thinking, millions. Then what was a few? But another thought followed quickly. If a baby is born from it, is it not your baby? Her chest tightened. She pushed the thought away. She searched again. This time something else. Islam and egg donation. The answers were not simple. She said, some said it was not allowed, that lineage must be protected, that the womb, the egg, the child, all had boundaries that should not be crossed. Zuwaira closed her phone. Her heart was uneasy. She lay back, staring into the darkness. I am just trying to survive, she told herself. I am not doing anything wrong, she repeated it again and again. It is like selling blood. It is something I have. I am not responsible for what others do with it. But even as the thoughts formed, something deep inside her resisted. This is not right. She turned to her side, pulled her wrapper tighter, and then she made her decision. Just once, she said. Just once. 500,000 naira. With careful planning, it will carry her through school. No more hunger, no more shame. She would do it once and stop. A few days later, she found her moment. Khadija, she said quietly, I want to try. Khadija looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. The clinic was not what Zuwaira expected. It was clean, organized, professional, which somehow made everything feel more real. That was when she learned something else. If you bring someone, Khadija said casually, you get a commission. Zuwaira turned sharply. You didn't tell me that. Khadija shrugged slightly. It wouldn't have changed anything. But something about it stayed with Zuwaira, a small crack in her trust. Inside the clinic, doubt came in waves. As they took her blood, as they explained the process, as she signed forms she barely understood, her heart pounded, her hands felt cold. You can still live, a voice whispered inside her, but she didn't. They handed her the injections, small, precise. Khadija stood beside her. I will help her, she said. I will teach her. Zuwaira nodded. Before she left that day, they gave her 100,000 naira. For transport, they said. She stared at the money in her hand. It didn't feel real. Over the next days, she returned for scans. They monitored her body, watched the eggs grow. And then the day came. The procedure was quick. She was sedated. She did not feel pain, only the weight of what she had chosen. When she woke, there was discomfort, but not as much as she feared. True to their word, they paid her the balance of 400,000 naira. She held the money quietly. 500,000 naira. It was done. But something inside her was not. For weeks, she did not touch the money. It sat in her bag, heavy. Sometimes she would take it out, count it, stare at it, then put it back. At night, the thoughts came. Guilt, doubt, questions she could not answer. Khadija noticed. It will pass, she said gently. You will be fine. Zuwaira nodded, but she wasn't sure. Slowly, the noise in her mind softened. The guilt became quieter. The questions faded. And one day she woke up and it no longer felt as heavy. Everything seemed normal again, or at least that was what she told herself. This is Northern Tales. Zuwaira told herself it will be just once, just one decision, just one sacrifice, just enough to survive. But money has a way of changing more than hunger. The question is, did Zuwaira really walk away, or did something in her stay behind? We continue in the next episode. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.